Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Masterclass, The Future of Luxury Retail in the Digital Age. Professor Morisset, could you change the slide, please? Thank you very much. Before the start of the Masterclass, I wanted to introduce you all to us very quickly for about 5 minutes to the executive education programs at ESSEC Business School. Professor Morisset is a professor at ESSEC, so I wanted you to have an opportunity to see some of the programs that he teaches in and that you would have an opportunity to get to know a bit more. So ESSEC Executive Education is a very international office, very international programs with 78 different nationalities, 5,000 professionals trained every year, and it's number 5th in executive education in the world. We have part-time programs ranging from an executive MBA, that are quite general in business management leadership, executive masters in innovation luxury management, but we also have full-time programs such as the Global MBA with 2 different specializations and also Master of Science in Hospitality Management. All of those programs are taught in English, so you can follow the courses without an issue in English and have an international experience. I will go on to the next slide, if that's okay with you, Denis. This masterclass, you're here for this specific masterclass. If you're interested in joining others related to ESSEC and our ESSEC professors, we have a webinar on January 27 on how the Talent Center helps our global MBA participants prepare for their post-MBA career. ESSEC is very proud in helping all their participants finding a great career after the program. And also for other fascinating masterclass, we will have on February 10th a masterclass on collaborative innovation and team decision making, which is extremely important in all facets of your career. So I will stay during this presentation, and I will let Denis go ahead with his masterclass. Thank you, Denis.
Thank you, Laura. Hi, everyone. So let's dive immediately into this exciting topic. So you see here the agenda that we will cover today. The last part is really my personal research and thoughts on the future of sales associates. So I think you will find it quite disruptive and interesting. What I mean is you should really stay until the end. So retail is actually one of my favorite topics. It has to do a little bit with my personal background. I'm coming from a family of retailers in fashion, and I've been working, as many of you know, for 25 years in the luxury retail industry, managing distribution and retail for Armani, but before for other companies, other brands such as Ralph Lauren and Pierre Balmain. And I've been teaching now for 17 years already, primarily in ESSEC, and I created actually this the first course on luxury retail management at the request of LVMH for the LVMH chair, which is a program offered in the master program of ESSEC. So, you know, I would like to welcome, by the way, a lot of my students I know who are here today, current students from the ESSEC programs, Global MBA, master programs, also a lot of my former ESSEC students probably also here today, and because I also teach in ESSEC partner schools in China, in Asia. So I would like to welcome, I know some of them are here, some of my previous students from Guanghua, Beida in Beijing, and Fudan in Shanghai. Voilà, so this all this is really based on a lot of research, but also some work done by my students from different programs on mystery shopping, which has evolved with the time into Omnichannel safari. And this is really our topic today. So one thing some of you know, because you follow me already, I am quite active on social media, and I have my own channel on Bilibili, which is a Chinese YouTube, more or less, where I publish every week educational videos, short, 10 minutes less. I have actually more than 100,000 followers now, so it's a nice number after 1.5 years. And the good thing is I repost these videos on LinkedIn. So for the non-Chinese who cannot easily upload the app, if you follow me on LinkedIn, which I encourage you to do, you can have a chance to watch these videos. The last 2 videos were on LVMH, and they were quite successful. So starting with our first chapter, luxury retail and e-commerce disruptions. As I mentioned to you, I mean, I've been following retail forever. I mean, not since the beginning, because retail has a long history. And it's quite striking for me that, you know, retail has always been disrupted. So whether it was in offline retail format, you know, we moved on from format to format, or whether it's in terms of offline retail locations, it's been a never-ending saga of disruptions. And luxury brands disrupted themselves, you know, traditional multi-brand retailers and department store with their monobrand stores and their pop-up stores recently. So this is never ending. But of course, we will see today how e-commerce is adding a few more disruptions to it. But retail is used to managing disruptions. That's the point I would like to make here. So I would like to remind you one thing, which is quite important. Not many people, you know, realize this. Luxury first is a young business. It became a business in the late 80s, more or less at the time LVMH was created, and Bernard Arnault took control of it in early 1990s. So it's a very recent business, even if some of the brands have a long history. And retail is even more recent. Luxury brands started to really pay attention on retail, developing a strategy of monobrand stores and directly operated stores only in the 90s. And in certain sectors such as watches or beauty or even wines and spirit, this process is still going on at the moment. So luxury brands are relatively new to retail, which of course is an issue when we know that they were disrupted by e-commerce just 15 years after they really started to invest in retail, in offline retail. What I would like to remind you, maybe many of you know that, but when luxury brands decided to invest in retail, it was not just as a sales channel. For luxury brands, retail is also a branding, a communication tool, a marketing tool. And what luxury brands want to convey through their offline retail stores is all the elements that you can see on this chart. So yeah, retail is not just a sales channel. That's the first point. And the second point is progressively, they also realize that directly operated stores enable them to develop a deeper client engagement, develop client knowledge, retain clients. You know, loyalty is critical in the luxury industry. It takes time to recruit clients. So obviously having your own stores helps a lot. And this is the second objective of retail, which is more achieved through the soft skills of the sales associates. Voilà. Alors, what happened actually before e-commerce in this relatively short history, which started in the 90s, is that luxury brand wanted their clients to shop on their own terms, meaning in a monobrand environment. And they wanted to control the foot traffic. If we use a terminology that is used today in the e-commerce and marketplace space, they tried actually to create their own private traffic. And they did it progressively everywhere because their monobrand stores, luxury brands, directly operated stores were located growingly in different locations, including in department stores. And when it was not possible, they tried at least to have what I call branded wholesale, which means to have a wholesale business model, but where their presence in the department store, in the retailer, in the airport is distinct. When you travel and you see stores in airports, for instance, you have sometimes some multi-brand beauty store where you have all the brands with just a small corner, but you have maybe Chanel, maybe Dior, maybe La Prairie, which will have a standalone store. This is actually branded wholesale. when e-commerce and marketplaces came up in the 2000 decade, basically luxury brands, after hesitating a little, tried to replicate online what they had been doing offline, meaning that they try to also create their own private traffic online by developing progressively, again, a monobrand presence online with their brand e-commerce website, sometimes their mobile app, and progressively, starting with China, a presence on their social media account like WeChat mini programs. The difficulty they faced here is that online traffic, like I wrote, does not follow necessarily the same logic as offline traffic. Plus, new actors disrupted traditional retail because traditional offline retailers also developed their e-commerce presence, department stores, Sephora, etc. But new actors came up and disrupted all the other actors. It started historically with Net-a-Porter, I still remember. So pure e-tailers. There was also Flash website, Vente Privée, which became VP during the financial crisis in 2008, 2009, Guild in the US. Then you had the era of marketplaces and aggregators and social media platforms, which is growing more and more nowadays, in particular in Asia. And also everything which is linked with the sharing economy platforms, be it resale, be it rental, be it direct rental or peer-to-peer. So obviously things are a little bit more complicated for luxury brands when it comes to e-commerce. Alors, one important question I think that everyone has is, where is the future of e-commerce? Because we have obviously different channels and different actors, as we saw before. So we have actors which are more wholesale actors, like retailer.com, the retailers' websites, e-tailers, traditional e-tailers like Net-a-Porter or My Teresa, which still follows a wholesale model, but growingly marketplaces which are more retail in a way, because the brands often have ownership of their inventory and can control more than that. And of course, brands.com. So while the whole e-commerce category has been growing and keeps growing fast, it's not totally clear, which channels will be the winners ultimately. I think there is clearly a shift that is taking place between e-tailers and marketplaces for different reasons. So I would bet a little more on marketplaces than e-tailers. However, you always have the exception that confirms the rule. And My Teresa is a very interesting case. Voilà. So of course, luxury brands would like to push their brands.com. If you look at the right column, you can also relate a little bit to, who is basically served by these different platforms. And I think the marketplaces, in the end, they are those who are created to serve both brands, retailers, and consumers. And this is basically what Farfetch is trying to achieve. While we could argue that brand.com serve primarily brands and consumers, but maybe in a different way. Voilà, so food for thoughts. I would like to show you just one little case here, which is how luxury brands in China are trying, they need to collaborate with marketplaces because, again, the public traffic is much more important in China than the private traffic. So LVMH cannot leave that public traffic untouched, but they still would like to control it and maybe to turn it into a private traffic. And this explains the kind of agreement they have inked recently with, not with Alibaba, but with its competitor JD.com, which is a kind of special because it leverages also on WeChat mini program, which is really where the LVMH brand can retrieve the traffic. And so this collaboration enables them to turn public domain traffic into private domain traffic. And I think it's a very interesting phenomenon. So a platform like GD, for instance, today, GD was initially more a wholesale retailer. So they keep working with certain brands under wholesale model. Of course, they have also created a marketplace flagship model, a little bit like Tmall, Luxury Pavilion at Alibaba, or Farfetch e-concessions. And now they are trying to attract the most difficult brands, LVMH brands, with this new mini program option, where you know, Louis Vuitton and Dior are confident because they totally can gain control of this traffic, and then it's totally consistent with their own environment. So we should not forget, obviously, like I said, the sharing economy platforms. I think this is probably where we're going to see a lot of M&A, a lot of transactions and development in the coming years. This is obviously driven partially by the circular economy, by sustainability, by the fact that it's getting more and more common to rent or buy secondhand. And you have a lot of platforms, obviously, which are all quite dynamic, but some can die very fast as well. And I try to show you here the most important one. So I mixed, as I said, you know, resale platform and rental platform, which can work both with consignment or peer-to-peer. I think it's very difficult for these platforms to have a worldwide dominance, so they tend to have a regional importance, and this is why you have specific platforms for China. Luxury brands will need to come to terms with the sharing economy. They do already, but what is not clear is which model they are going to favor. Are they going to do it internally in their own offline store and integrating it in their e-commerce and, you know, private traffic platforms, or are they going to make alliances like Richemont did, alliances or acquisition when Richemont acquired the Watchfinder, for instance, or partnerships like Kering is testing with Vestiaire Collective? I think it remains a little bit unclear, but what is for sure is that we will see more and more luxury brands being part of the conversation, and that will be a driver of business and conversations in the near future. So trends around the future of e-commerce, obviously luxury brands believe in their own brand.com and would like it to become dominant. But at the same time, if you look at LVMH 24S platform, we cannot really say it's successful. Sorry to say that. And Richemont also faces shareholders' pressure around YNAP losses. So at the same time, you know, pure retailers, many of them are challenged by marketplaces, so they have to shift or disappear. And marketplaces are still struggling financially for many of them. So it's still a bet on the future. There are some exceptions. Farfetch, My Teresa are more or less breaking even or doing a little bit better, but it's not yet completely obvious. So resale platform dynamic, as I said, and probably the big trend is going to be luxury brands participating more and more in resale and pre-owned transactions. Keeping in mind that the blockchain quick progression will also facilitate and make luxury brands more comfortable with dealing with resale, because they will be able to keep track. I mean, they will be able to offer total visibility on the authenticity of the product. And this quick chain blockchain progression will also challenge a lot of players which play sometimes with parallel market, or even in the past had sometimes counterfeited products, because here they will be more and more challenged by blockchain development. Alors, another disruption I always recall in my courses, it's a good one, but it's still a disruption, is the democratization of luxury. You may not have this in mind, but when I started to work in this industry, or to pay attention to it, at least in the late 70s, there were maybe 5 to 8 million clients only, and they were primarily American, Japanese, and European. When the luxury industry became a business in the 80s, there were maybe 45 million clients, and today 450 million. So this is not without consequences. You know, not all these clients are important. Not all these clients receive at the moment such a great experience or such a great service, because CRM systems still have their limitations. So we can talk about the happy few, those who are spending a lot and are well recognized by luxury brand CRM programs, and many who are often a little bit the unhappy many. So this challenge or this disruption, luxury brands may be able to deal with it more in the future with digital innovation and technology, as we will see. Alors, if you remember well, we are still not totally out of the pandemic, and the pandemic was a big disruption for offline retailers. But what is very interesting, it generated a new channel called live streaming sales, which is, you know, often is assimilated to e-commerce, but for me, it's neither e-commerce nor offline. It's really a mix of both. And it started, as you probably remember, in China. Actually, it started in China before COVID. And of course, it's something I know well. The magical equation for live streaming in China initially was obviously the technology to conduct this live streaming session, often teased by short videos before. So bringing e-commerce and delivery. And KOLs. KOLs are the equivalent of influencers in China, and often a gaming aspect. And this became like the magical, the Graal for all brands in China initially and in the West last year. It's quite interesting. In China, despite the fact that all the stores have reopened now for more than 1 year, 1 year and a half, but live streaming continues and luxury brands use it. Alors, it continues with different platforms, often public domain platforms, because this is where you can reach the biggest audience. So, of course, Taobao Live, which belongs to the Alibaba ecosystem, but more and more, these rising social media platforms, Douyin, which is the Chinese equivalent of TikTok, under ByteDance, and Kuai, which you may not know if you're not Chinese, but which is also very aggressive, and both have several hundred millions, maybe will get close to 1 billion followers in the near future. Alors, not only this, because luxury brands can also do it through what we call video shopping sessions on a one-to-one basis. So this is the beauty of it, is that it can be done either for a large audience or for VIP clients. And I would like to share with you a small case study, which I'm quite familiar with, just to show you the power of this channel. So we are talking here about a French organic skincare brand, which is not part of a big group. And I'm quite familiar with their Chinese distributor because it's my wife, Chinese wife. And the way she's now operating, and this is really a channel that is growing in parallel to a traditional offline retail or e-commerce, is that she has recruited an army of influencers. And interestingly, they are all Chinese, of course, but none of them are based in China. And what they have in common is that they have a relatively large number of followers, and they have a certain power over these influencers, over these followers. Some of them, they actually live stream all the time. It's quite amazing, you know. They are all their apartment, their house is equipped, and some followers follow their life. And from time to time, they will talk about products. From time to time, they will just do their normal daily life. So it's quite interesting, and the results are amazing. The results are amazing. It's actually much stronger today than Tmall account, where you need to do a lot of promotions, where you need to pay a lot of advertising fees if you want to be seen. While here, these influencers have really a sticky clientele, and it's not so as easy as it may seem. In fact, you need to choose them well. They must have a true passion for the product. It's done on the platform Douyin in this particular case, and my wife's company, her team, they did a lot of teasing on Douyin with short videos, so around the products that will be sold. So all this requires actually a lot of expertise and know-how, but the result can be amazing. Some of them can sell easily like 200 lotions a day. And if you multiply it by, you know, there is almost no limit to the number of influencers you can find. It's quite impressive. And financially, probably cheaper. Alors, the product is in the warehouse, has been imported in China. It's delivered immediately. The payment goes to the brand, and they, Retro said, they give back a percentage, which is quite important, but decent to the influencers. Voilà, a small example. Alors, in the West, as you know, live streaming has been developing also a lot with different platforms and also with influencers. We all know that, but maybe not to the same extent as it has been developing in China. However, and Gucci was a pioneer, today more and more brands offer to their clients offline the possibility to have either an appointment, an offline appointment in the store, or to book a virtual appointment. So here it's live streaming, except it's what I call one-to-one video shopping appointment. Alors, could the next big disruption be the metaverse? I had to talk about it because actually it's 50% of the articles around luxury and fashion at the moment are around the metaverse and NFTs. But it's interesting. I will quote, because I found it interesting, Ian Rogers, you know, the former DMO of LVMH, when he was interviewed at BOF Voices, he explained that it's really a generational issue. And he introduced, you know, those who are coming after Gen Z, Gen Alpha. So they are not yet totally on the market, but they are coming soon. So if you are a millennial, you start to realize that you get old because you have now behind you the Gen Z and the Gen Alpha. But what he explains makes a lot of sense. And if you are interested, also one of my colleagues I met once or twice in Hong Kong, Erwan Rambourg, this book, Future Lux, he explains that maybe virtual vacations, memories of experiences will be the new paradigm of desires. And in this book, he predicts, or at least, you know, he strongly recommends Louis Vuitton to invest in it, and that they may be selling in the future more virtual trips than luggage for physical trips. Interesting. So having said that, it's true that the metaverse is progressing fast. There is a dreadful coincidence. The metaverse and the pandemic, the metaverse and the travel restrictions, it was such a shock that we saw there were maybe more limitations to the physical world than we thought, but at the same time, with the metaverse, more virtual alternatives than we thought. So that could be, at least for the next generation, and maybe more than that, a new way to travel, shop, and meet people. So about shopping, Of course, some people are always fast at jumping into these new opportunities, and they saw it as linked with digital showrooms, with the virtual versions of products on display, bringing e-commerce from 2 to 3 dimensions, and also obviously virtual shopping malls. Or the pure virtual shopping malls or online games, social networks, encouraging shopping also with video games like you see Nike Land on Roblox. I did a little research on that, and I found out that some people had really invested in it for already a few years. So I don't know if you heard about Decentraland. It's an open source virtual world platform development on the Ethereum blockchain, and some metaverse real estate companies have started to invest, opening a virtual shopping district. I like the choice of the name Metajuku. I guess you do the connection with Harajuku in Tokyo, so Metajuku. And voilà, and others are also apparently spending money already. Alors, is it safe? I'm not sure, but at the beginning it seemed to create a lot of excitement. So you have, for instance, Dress X, which is one of the first virtual fashion company. They opened a store on Decentraland, and where they, for the moment, try to sell only virtual clothes, but it's maybe a tactic to also develop awareness. You have also the Sandbox, which is another blockchain, also on Ethereum, if I'm not mistaken, which is more community-driven gaming ecosystem. And Adidas, which was on Second Life, has recently opened a virtual store on Sandbox. So all this remains to be seen, but I think it's still a little early. And apparently, there are not so many brands which are rushing into signing leases and putting real money into these virtual shopping malls. So maybe this shows a direction, but it will take a little time. Actually, we can also ask ourselves, will China take the lead in the retail metaverse? Because China is extremely organized and prepared for this. There is one, you have the BAT in China, like you have the GAFA in the West. So Baidu, which is more or less the equivalent of Google, is developing an app which sounds inspiring from that picture, but they clearly acknowledge that it will take at least 6 years. So they are 6 years away from a full launch. So I think this is not exactly for tomorrow. But keep an eye on China, because it's also about technology. It's about 5G, but it's also about 6G, and it's about government intervention in China in all these new technology, which probably will give also China a very strong position in the future on anything which is metaverse related. Alors, if the metaverse is maybe not for tomorrow, what about the NFTs? Actually, we talk more today about the NFTs, and I mentioned them in a previous masterclass, I think a few months ago. There was Burberry, there was Louis Vuitton I mentioned, and recently Gucci and other brands. I will show you one case which I think is interesting. It's Pierre Balmain, brand that I know well. So Pierre Balmain, in the past 6 months, they had three different launches of NFTs with Altava, which is a gaming company, I think based in Singapore. So they did different things, and their new CEO explains that for them it's really about tying it with physical experiences. So for instance, one of the last thing they did around trainers, 2 pairs of trainers, both real and virtual. It was a collaboration with gym, very famous luxury gym club, Dog Pound, and it was also linked with private training sessions, digital membership cards. So, you know, mixing always digital and physical. So voila, and I think I found also a very interesting initiative. It's actually the second one from Selfridges, which you can see because it just opened this week in London, where it's a real big retailer which is trying to use NFTs and digital fashion to create more excitement in a physical space. So this one is a collaboration with a fashion brand, Paco Rabanne. Alors, interestingly, it's not the biggest one at the moment. They are more known for their fragrance, and they belong to Puig, but because maybe they don't have so many stores, they are very interested in it. And I think it's a perfect best case because it combines everything. And I think it's a kind of democratization of NFTs, and probably a great experience. It will create a buzz for Selfridges. A lot of people will want to go and see it, and it is also very much aligned with what luxury is about, which are collaboration with arts. And in this particular case, there is a true connection between Paco Rabanne and Vasarely, abstract art. So all this is a great story that both Vasarely Foundation, the creative director of Paco Rabanne, and Selfridges are delivering together with a kind of charity, as the funds raised will be given to the Foundation Vasarely, where they are still working on the restoration of important artworks. Voilà. So this quick, not so quick, it was a big part of my masterclass, but I wanted to take you through, voilà, until the most recent disruptions. So now let's go a little bit more back to the business and decode the new facets of Omnichannel and phygital. You know, all these words more or less mean the same thing: Omnichannel, new retail, phygital, O2O. Let's decode it. What is for sure is here we need to elevate ourselves. We cannot limit ourselves to just offline sales and e-commerce, because it's more about the complex online-offline journey of the luxury consumer, which is not restricted to touch points that are related to transactions, but include all kinds of offline and online touch points. And more, the key for brands is to understand this kind of journey. You're probably familiar with this. You know, traditionally, we tend to decode the journey in 8 steps. That was the traditional journey between developing awareness and at the very end, transacting, developing engagement and loyalty. So this is still valid. And what is striking and so exciting is that you see on the left all the offline touch points that existed in my childhood. They are still there, and they are still extremely relevant for most of them. At the same time, brands and consumers have at their disposal an equally important number of online touch points. I try to show some of them. I'm sure it's not exhaustive. And voilà, so this is obviously one thing to recognize. Omnichannel, it's not just about sales channel. It's about making that journey more and more seamless for the consumers. This was, it's not recent, but I was teaching that year in Keio in Japan, and which is also a partner of ESSEC, and Japanese students were working on this. And it was the journey of a Japanese female customer in Tokyo around Kills. So there were like 7, 8 touch points, and actually equally offline touch points and online touch points. So just an example. Alors, you know, when we talk about omnichannel, phygital, I think it's important to understand that we cannot, I mean, the client is in control. So he will decide whether he wants to do web rooming, which is more the case at the moment, which is also called ROPO, research online, purchase offline, or whether he will be doing in the future also showrooming, which is the opposite. So I don't think there is a dominant model, even if luxury brands try to encourage ROPO because they would like to bring their clients to the stores, to the physical stores. But a true seamless omnichannel experience should really leave the client having a seamless experience and having his own journey. Because actually both, and you know, I will tell you this later, but I really believe that making a distinction between offline sales and online sales is almost irrelevant and will become totally irrelevant soon. That will be the ultimate evolution of omnichannel. There will just be sales. So before we get there, let me explain to you. One thing to also remember is the fact that now, especially after COVID, many offline clients were buying online or buying through live streaming. So the digital parity is more important than ever. Most luxury clients experience both, and they want the best of both worlds. That's something to keep in mind in the seamless journey. So how can luxury brands deal with omnichannel? First of all, I would like to differentiate different situations. I would like to call OmniRetail and not omnichannel what luxury brands can do relatively easily when they have their own stores. So voila, OmniRetail is basically creating that seamless experience across all the brands, if you wish, private traffic, offline and online platforms, stores, e-commerce website, mobile apps, social media. Okay. Already it's a big challenge because you know, there are still silos. And we saw physical store disrupted during COVID, but now what we see is stores, offline stores, are more important than ever, and they should play a key role in this omni-retail journey. So personally, and I will tell you why later, I think we will see salaries and commissions of sales associates increasing. They should be more and more qualified and recognized as such. So don't forget that the store today, the physical store, is also where a lot of live streaming video shopping sessions can take place. And I think that luxury brands should develop their own influencers among their staff. And also, you had some new approach which were managed by the brands, which is part of the same ecosystem, which are their virtual stores. Or some gaming initiatives. Alors, it's not done because there are still silos and linked with remuneration systems, linked with the KPIs of retail. So there are still a lot of frictions. And this is what I will try to solve at the end of this presentation when I will introduce my new KPIs and my vision for the future of offline sales associate. But you know, already live streaming and online, offline appointments helped break silos because now sales associates in the store can feel more involved in online sales because voilà, live streaming is linked with it. And also you have less queues now in stores because those clients that have a physical appointment can show a QR code and can enter the store. So it's progressing, but there are still difficulties. The problem with this is that a lot of brands are not in that situation. Even if they have some stores, they still rely a lot on wholesale. As we know, it's still the case for the majority of the brands. And here, obviously, for the client, an omni-channel, here we should talk about an omni-channel, is really about making the journey seamless, not only within the brand stores, but also within the brand wholesale partners, both offline and online. And as you can imagine, this is not easy, because here we have potentially a conflict of interest. We have understandable resistance of retailers to share consumer data, because it's part of their goodwill. So I think this is, for the moment, still facing a lot of challenges. However, I think it is the sense of history, because the client doesn't care if the brand is selling the product in a multi-brand environment, in a wholesale environment. He should also have a seamless experience. Otherwise, why is the brand selling products there? Okay, and at the very end, we call it maybe new retail, because it's a higher dimension. It's a journey with technology, with QR code, with maybe also the metaverse, that will include all kinds of touch points, including media, for instance, including search keywords on Google, on Baidu, etc. So that would be, of course, the next journey. So a lot of this, of course, relies on data and the ability of brands to gather this data, to make it consistent, to unify it, so that they can offer to their client a seamless experience. At the moment, if they don't recognize the client's purchases in the wholesale channels, they cannot at all recognize the client in their own stores. Voilà. So this is actually important. And there is a lot of issues around it, of course, but you probably remember that LVMH has inked an important partnership with Google a few months ago, which could give LVMH in the future potentially a big advantage, as they're going to use Google Cloud, but also potentially Google data, and maybe some what I call second-party data. So companies LVMH may partner with, retailers, etc., to unify all this data, or maybe not always at the client level for considerations of confidentiality, but at least for certain groups of clients. And this is already a big step forward. You need to remember that Amazon and Alibaba more than Amazon, they manage such a huge ecosystem, offline and online, that for them, they are much closer to new retail. Voilà. Alibaba, it's a little bit as if Amazon owned Meta, ex-Facebook, and also maybe YouTube. So that gives you a dimension of it. So quickly, I will show you something that I have been working on and that my students are using in my courses, which is an omnichannel diagnosis tool. Alors, I will not present it in depth because that would take too long, but basically it's a questionnaire with 7 chapters and 50 questions. And it's important to see that every chapter obviously plays a part in it. So after the global diagnosis, I look at the store locator diagnosis, because in terms of online to offline, a lot of things start with the store locator. Then the e-commerce and mobile commerce diagnosis. Then the social media presence and how the brand facilitates or not a seamless journey from its posts on social media or the posts of its influencers. And then the O2O, meaning offline to online and online to offline process, meaning if you are in the store, to which extent will the people in the store reconnect you online later on. And then all this relies, of course, on certain processes There's a lot of processes to implement actually on supply chain inventory system, because it's also about stock availability, about stock transfers. So brands need to decide to which extent they want to be omni-friendly in their supply chain system. And last, the CRM. The CRM system, which is also a big part of it in terms of data collection and engagement with the client. Voilà. So this is what my students are now doing on top of the traditional mystery shopping, where they evaluate the luxury service and the luxury shopping experience offline. So I will only show you today a few examples, a few best practices, not even all of this, but a few ones. But I would say that this slide shows you some important things. They are not always a must, but it connects with several chapters of my diagnosis questionnaire. If we start with the first one, online availability, it's a big thing. When I started to talk about it 5 years ago, no one believed it would happen. Now most brands are doing it, but with some challenges. So now you can check online the product availability offline. You can maybe sometimes book the product or reserve it. And you can also make, in association with that, an offline appointment and possibly also a virtual appointment. That's the best when you can choose. So that's what Louis Vuitton is doing now, and they are not the only one. They have a convenience store locator, and you can check in-store availability on a given store, and you can book both either a virtual or a physical appointment. There are still some issues because product availability doesn't always work 100%. So it's always frustrating when you cannot check it, or you are redirected to an access denied or kind of message like 404 page not found. Voilà, to show you that it's not easy, Louis Vuitton is still sometimes facing these issues. Gucci mobile app is actually a best practice. It does a lot of things, but in terms of omnichannel facilitator, as you can see here, it's very easy, very natural, navigating through the app to book an online private appointment, to understand what can be a digital showroom experience. So a satisfacit to Gucci here. Engagement is key because it's also O2O. It's how sales associate offline can engage with clients online before and after their store visit. So, you know, department stores are struggling, but they are also reacting, and they are big and strong. So Neiman Marcus try to develop a new approach, empowering their sales associate. They call them style advisors, with an app, NM Connect, and this is linked with personal stylist elements, and this really explains. Now it's leveraging on a software app called Stylize for those who are interested, but it's really implementing OmniRetail in the seamless engagement that sales associates can have with the clients. It's really about creating a connection. Of course, you know, there are many ways this can be done through traditional communication, be it WhatsApp, SMS, WeChat, etc. But more and more apps. It's actually interesting. Luxury brands, they always want to have their own tools. It's something I often notice. So like Kering has been working with developing internally their own app now called Loose App, very confidential. You have Neiman Marcus develop its own app, Burberry as well. But you also have some apps that can be customized partially from Sear and Salesforce, and also Alpha. It's an interesting case I found. because these two guys, they are actually well, they have an interesting background in clienteling, and now they are launching this app, and because they believe that there should be a standard. I mean, maybe they cannot prevent very big brands from having their own apps, but wouldn't it be easier for clients if they could all use the same app? You know, luxury brands probably reluctant, but anyway, small brands cannot invest so much. So they believe in developing an app that would be open and enable all kinds of brands to use it, and offering actually a very easy way for clients to use the same app for different brands. Voilà. Quickly, I would like to remind you what Burberry has been doing. They are always a bit ahead. It's really on clienteling. They are now moving a little bit away from the virtual technology in the store to engagement. So it's really around O2O. It's around trying to talk to this client online, bringing him offline if that can be relevant for him. It's really about using technology to enhance human relationships. And I think this is really the key message that I totally support, is making technology in support of human relationship. So they have developed their own ecosystem. Technically, they have two apps, one internal for the staff, and one which I think they are still reserving to the selected VIP clients. Bon, Burberry also experimented a social store in Shenzhen, powered by Tencent, around WeChat mini programs. So this is totally relevant for China. Good marketing also for Tencent. And you can do a lot of different things here, and a lot of interest from many people, and also very convenient. So it's a good Omni-channel practice as well. And they also, during COVID in Japan, created a virtual store, which was an interesting attempt, trying to make it a kind of luxury experience, and collaborating with a Japanese influencer to make it more appealing. Voilà. Alors, in terms of technology, Sephora is often ahead. I didn't talk about Sephora, but here it's their new concept store, Sephora Flash, which is, a bit like Farfetch store of the future, maybe. It's a store which is trying to connect totally offline and online. So there is a lot of interesting technology that obviously are a best omni-channel practice here also. Prada, interestingly, after having been for a long time a bit reluctant, they are now moving quite strongly. So I'm sure you heard about the blockchain, Aura blockchain project with LVMH and Richemont. So Prada is part of it. And they also believe a lot in using this technology, not blockchain itself, but what goes with it, the microchips, the QR code, the RFID, the NFTs, to increase the engagement with clients, to connect also a kind of online, offline relationship. And they are working now on, it's not yet operational. I think all their products now are equipped with this kind of NFCs, but they are now enriching the content. They plan to maybe add some videos, short videos, shooted while the product is in production, to show the craftsmanship, to go out to human aspect by showing maybe the craftsman in action. This is also to create emotions when the client will scan it and will see what's behind the product he bought. So I think it's also very interesting. And it's something I believed in for a long time. It's really around IoT and connected goods. one of my sons, maybe I mentioned already for some of you, but who is a former ex-Polytechnique France School and MIT in Boston, has implemented this already many years ago for Pernod Ricard in China. And now he created his own software platform company, Kehu in Shanghai. He has 50 people. He has got a lot of venture capital funding. And it's all around, this kind of technology, initially for Pernod Ricard and now for different industries. So back to Prada, I think this is also something that they view as a way to connect with a younger generation. They can also give more transparency on the product, on the supply chain through these microchips. And Prada is also one of the few brands that makes it easy because they attach hyperlinks to social media posts. So, a lot of luxury brands don't do it for different reasons. And you can see here that at Prada, it's very easy. And you can, if you are attracted by a beautiful post, you can quickly click with 2 or 3 clicks, you will be redirected to the website where you can buy the product. Voilà. Alors, I will take the last 10 minutes to share with you my disruptive predictions on the future of sales associates and what I perceive as the possible new retail KPIs. I have not shared it with anyone, so you are the first to listen to this. I know a lot of luxury groups are working on this, and I may discuss it with them soon, but today I will share with you something that I have never shown before. So first, I will start with like general thoughts that are obviously linked with everything I said on the future of luxury retail. I believe that luxury stores, physical stores, will remain very important, but they will become more and more experiential showrooms and connected social places. And they are already for some of them, but more and more, in the sense that they may not even carry inventory in the future. And I think they will carry less and less inventory. Nordstrom in the US has already shown the way with their new small store called Nordstrom Local. And I believe that it is also linked with sustainability, linked with a lot of positive evolutions that the luxury industry should participate into. It's also, in the end, a cost reduction. So what this means is that in reality, the role of the sales associate will be different. They are still today, to a large extent, cashiers. I'm sorry to say it, but when you are remunerated and assessed primarily on sales, even if it's quality of sales and not just quantity, you are acting as a cashier. So I think this will change more and more. Maybe we can call them multimedia ambassadors, we will see. And what I also believe is that financial transactions will be ultimately disconnected with these stores. So, that's what I was telling you, that online, offline sales, no more distinction, just sales, just transactions. And the place where the transaction will take place will be irrelevant. So it's a huge revolution for retailers. I don't think my parents would could really understand that, because for any retailer, nothing has been done until the client decides to pay and leaves the store with the product. And people will tell you a lot about impulse buying and the beauty of getting the product immediately. But I still think that this will not resist the evolution. Also, the future is much better AI tracking of clients online. So we go back to data collection. And I think a big issue that will need to be solved, maybe with new technology, will be offline data collection. Today, it's very clear. Offline data cannot be collected for the most part, except for a few important clients. And all my research shows that there is a huge waste of data offline. So this probably at some point will have to be solved. So I think the role of the sales associate will be more about relationship, less commercial, less transactional. And in this way, and I think it's good for the luxury industry, the future of luxury retail will not be about selling more, but maybe about selling better. And we will see what should be the new retail KPIs. So here is my disruptive bank of ideas around the future of sales associate. Nothing very different from what I have said already, but to bring it a little bit deeper, I show you different elements. They should be technologically empowered. They should be multimedia. In fact, they should become, I like this word, I hope it will be kept, BOLs, meaning brand opinion leaders. Great, no? That's what I was talking about when I was saying that brands should build their own influencers, so they should have their bols. And voilà, so there will be more ambassadors than sales executives. And very interestingly, I believe that they should not necessarily be employed. So that's a big disruption. They can be self-employed, they can be, we'll see. And also, I believe that in the future, each BOL, if we call them like this, or multimedia brand ambassador, will be in charge of a client's portfolio. Like it is the case already sometimes for some grand vendeurs, but it's not because in the future there will be only appointments more and more in the stores. So a client can be allocated, if it's a new client, to a sales associate or to a multimedia brand ambassador. And that will be absolutely crucial to understand the new compensation schemes. So now let's move to that. Alors, 4 big assumptions that I make. The first one is, I think, whether it's physical stores, e-commerce website, or social media account where you can do social commerce, all these platforms will be showrooms. And they will be used for both marketing, branding, communication, and sales. I believe that a way to solve all the problems and the silos is that all clients should be allocated to a multi-brand, a multimedia brand ambassador, irrespective of their transaction mode and channel. And that's, of course, a big revolution. And I've been thinking a lot about it, and I think it's the only way it can work. It can work, which means that even if they buy sometimes in other channels, which are not the brand channels, we can imagine that at some point, the sales could still be connected to their ambassador. So that could enable brands to also solve potentially the problem of wholesale channel if obviously some information can be shared. I also believe that brand ambassadors can be multiple. They don't need to be only the same profile as a traditional sales associate. They could be influencers. They could be, like I showed you with my wife's business, because they are actually brand ambassadors, but they are self-employed and they are influencers. So why not? Why not? Because in fact, these are their clients. So voilà, no limitation to employed salespeople in the future. And voilà, what I believe is that their remuneration should be totally different. It should be like a P&L. So they should be paid based on the profitability of their activity, which means that they should be free to spend the company money. They are responsible for managing their P&L. So how could it work? So the new KPIs that I envisage would run around these different elements. First, No more distinction, as I said, between offline sales, e-commerce, or social commerce. It's all sales. Second, no more P&L per store for the offline store. No more. No more P&L per store based on store sales transactions. Physical stores and platforms, you know, they have a lot of fixed costs that will stay, the rent, the amortization of the decoration, etc. These should be split between marketing budget and sales budget, because a part of it is clearly marketing. Then there should still be some KPIs around the traffic in these different places, but these KPIs should not be around sales. They should be around traffic and engagement. This, of course, needs to be further elaborated. Then, what is, I think, very interesting, I can imagine that the sales budget, because companies will still need to have a sales budget, will be done by sales ambassador. And the company will consolidate all the sales budgets of different sales ambassadors by country or region. So they will develop a P&L per sales ambassador, a P&L where we will see the sales, the cost of sales, the selling expenses, travel expenses, whatever, and there will be a profit, hopefully, and the remuneration of the ambassador will be based on that profit. And voilà. And we could even imagine for the cost accounting systems that the P&L of the sales ambassadors will be broken down by clients. In this way, the brand and the sales associate can, or the brand ambassador, can understand the profitability of their different clients. Well, so this is, of course, a long way to go, but voilà, this is what I wanted to share with you today in terms of possible new retail KPIs that would enable luxury brands to really create a true omni-channel experience, seamless, and that could enable them to remove a lot of silos that still exist today. Because believe me, today, even if they don't want to, but if you talk to a sales associate in a store and you try to explain to him that after having talked to him for 1 hour, you may prefer to buy online, he will find a lot of good reasons to explain to you that you should preferably buy offline. So, and it's normal, because at the moment, no brands have really managed to go around this issue of remuneration. And not only remuneration, because it's about the P&L of the store, it's about the store manager, it's about the country manager evaluation, you know. So no way this can be solved without totally revisiting the KPIs of retail and e-commerce. Voilà. So I will stop here, and I will open, of course, for Q&A. So thank you for your attention again, and let me see if I have the chat box. So let me take the questions as they come through the chat box. Alors, I have a question on links and sources to read about the metaverse. Honestly speaking, on NFTs, you find a lot of articles. On the metaverse itself and the metaverse for luxury brands, there is almost nothing. But my sources, I forgot to show them to you. They are relatively accessible because I look primarily into business of fashion, still Women's Wear Daily, WWD, and growingly Vogue Business, besides, of course, all consultancy reports. And usually, if you read interesting articles on these three platforms, And if you are, of course, a paid subscriber, if you have access to everything, you often have references of other articles which are more in technical digital reviews or journals. So this is the way I look for it. I have another question. Hello, sir. Can we reach out to you through your email regarding queries? Yes. I think my email, I can go back to it quickly. Just hold on a second. I will leave it on the screen so that you can all see it. Voilà. Alors, you have my email and you have, because maybe some of you were not here at the beginning, so you have my email and you have my WeChat for those who use WeChat. And I also recommend you to find me on LinkedIn. Like I said, if you want to follow some of my videos, I will post them on LinkedIn. Alors, let me see. I have lost the chat box. Where is it? Let me move this.
Hi, Denis. Can you see your control panel?
I am looking for the chat box. I lost it. Can you
maybe I'll send a message there. Maybe you might be able to see. Can you click on the go to webinar icon in the at the bottom of your screen on the right? Yeah, below.
Questions? Chat. Okay. I found it. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Kenika. Thank you. Links and sources. Okay. So you have my email. I saw it. Next questions. Greeting, Dr. Denis. Thank you very much for the interesting presentation. Are these projections regarding the automotive retail industry? Are there projections about the automotive retail industry? Alors, I am not following so closely the automotive retail industry. However, I did some collaboration with car dealers, because in terms of luxury service, it's of course very interesting to see what happens in the car dealer. No, I don't know, but I often mention actually the case of cars and the evolution of dealers when I refer to the sharing economy, because 20 years ago, car dealers were only selling first-hand cars, and today, especially now, with the shortage of new cars, without second-hand cars, a lot of car dealers would have no business. So from that perspective, I think car dealers are a little bit ahead. Okay. Alors, another question. If all clients are allocated to a multimedia brand ambassador, how does the brand own the client data? The client owns the client data because the brand ambassador will be working on an app or on all the data he will collect, online data, should be on the brand software, on the brand platform. Actually, at the moment, it's already the case in China. As some of you know, WhatsApp is not used, but WeChat is actually much easier to use than WhatsApp because it's much more convenient for many things. So many sales associates are using WhatsApp. Now there is a debate here that relates to your question. Should they use their personal WeChat or should they use a company WeChat? Honestly, the question remains open, because I can see, I am also totally, how should I say, I'm not naive, I come from retail. I know that when you are a brand ambassador, and you deal with important clients who trust you, there is always information that should remain between you and the client. Maybe because the client can share elements about his personal life with you. So this has always existed, this problem, you know. At Cartier, I remember many years ago, the Grand Vendeur, those in charge of VIP clients, the brands was complaining that they retained a lot of information. You know, there was a place where they should normally put all the client information. It was all offline, but they were still collecting it. And they were resistant to do it because they wanted to protect the privacy of their clients. So there is no here obvious answer, but fundamentally, everything that is around transactions and engagement should be done on the brand's platform so that the data is the brand's data. And actually, the brand ambassador will need the brand data. Okay, so I have another question here regarding product. Which brand, in your opinion, translates in the best way the offline experience into an e-commerce and proposes a digital touch and feel experience to understand the quality and craftsmanship behind the product? Alors, it's a tricky question because so far, I think most luxury brands, when it comes to their e-commerce platform, for me, you know, they are not doing a good job at all. And often, if I compare, maybe the very top brand, they have, of course, a very good e-commerce website. But most of the brands, the normal brands, I would say, they are lagging behind e-tailers and marketplaces in terms of online experience, even around the product. So for me, the way they can do it is really, one way they can do it is really through one-to-one video shopping, live streaming. I really believe in this. I personally, even at my age, I would be a great fan of not going to stores anymore and having only appointment online with the sales associates or the brand ambassadors I know. And I would tell them in advance, you know, what products I'm interested in, and they would put all the products in a small showroom, and they can talk to me about the product, they can show it to me. I think it's even better than the in-store experience for me, because, you know, I'm comfortably seated in my sofa, temperature I like, no noise, no other clients around. We booked a 30 minutes appointment. I know that nothing will disrupt us during 30 minutes. Voilà. For me, video shopping is really one-to-one video shopping with the right technology in the future should become the norm and should replace, not replace, but for all important purchases, it's much more relevant than e-commerce. All right, so I have another question on luxury watch and jewelry. Given they are so expensive and very offline driven, do you think there is a huge omnichannel opportunity? Yes, but it's true that I think it's the price is one thing, but not only, because people can buy online a 40,000 euro Hermes bag. So they could buy online, I think, also a watch. You know, I think I'm not saying, because again, your question, it's almost as if you oppose buying online and buying offline. Absolutely not. I think watch lovers, they will always go to exhibitions, to showrooms, to stores, to watch timepieces, because it's a hobby for them. They love it. But should they necessarily buy it and transact while they are in the store? I don't think so. And I think the watch industry is divided, because certain brands try to develop their own stores. So in this way, they may develop their own website. So they want to have their private traffic. But big brands, as you may know, like Rolex and Patek Philippe, they don't want to really invest in retail. They think it's not their job, so they rely on authorized dealers. So for them, it's of course a different story. But globally, I should say the Swiss watch industry still is very traditional, and I think that they are coming to it. You know, some brands are developing houses, so they are starting to understand that creating a relationship outside of the store is important. Still a little reluctant to do it online in a traditional way. I think it really depends, you know, the brand, because when you are a brand like AP or PP, Patek Philippe, Audemars Piguet, and you sell less 50,000 watches per year across the world, voilà, you have necessarily a small traffic, and you cannot have the same approach as if you are Rolex and you sell over the million watches, more than a million, of course, much more than that. But I think where luxury watch and jewelry brand should probably start, maybe, it's with pre-owned and even rental. Because I think it's totally a legitimate demand from clients, either new clients or existing clients, to sometimes sell a watch that you don't like anymore, or buy a vintage watch, or for jewelry, even why not rent a very expensive piece of high jewelry for a special occasion. And this kind of conversation, of course, they can take place in the store, but in the store, you still have some limitations. So I think this is where starting to integrate this part of the sharing economy would make sense. You know, I know in Thailand, because I also teach in Thailand, so I met someone who is a watch connoisseur. He created a luxury club. He has 200 luxury watches, and he meets a lot of people who also collect these watches. At the moment, because they cannot do it in the brand stores, you know, they organize between themselves sales, because sometimes, you know, they get tired of certain watches, and someone else in the group is interested in them, so they do this kind of things. So it's a bit shame for the brands to be totally out of this conversation. Alors, I have a question that I like, because it's really a question to a professor. Could you please give some advice to business students transitioning from other industry into luxury industry? Of course. You know, I was for many years the director of the luxury MBA in ESSEC, and we had almost only students who wanted to transition. We always had a few who had already experience in the luxury industry. But so for now, 17 years, I've been seeing these situations. And same in the master program, same with the LVMH chair, even if they are younger. So I would say, first, you should make sure you are serious about transitioning, because you know, you should be conscious of the difficulties, and the difficulties can depend your profile. So I would first put you on the test and really check and triple check your motivation, and tell you if I think it's a good motivation, because there are some motivations that do not resist, I think, the challenge of working in this industry. That's the first thing. And after that, if you have really the good motivation, I think normally you should have the passion, because without passion, I think it's very hard today to work in this industry unless you bring some expertise in finance. But you know, if you really want to be part of the brand development, you must have a passion for the product, a passion for the sector. So you need to be patient. I think you need to be patient. And you need to understand that things are very different from what they were at my age. You know, I reached a CEO position very young, but the industry was very different. Today it's much more difficult, and you need to be patient, and you also need to understand that if you think you are very smart and you want to do strategic consulting and brand management, like I often hear, and people often say strategic brand management, forget it. I mean, or then be patient, because it's only the day you will be CEO, if you become CEO one day, that you will really have the power to be in charge of the strategic brand management together with the creative directors. So I think, you know, if you like this industry, normally it's okay, because what you want is to be part of it. So then you can start in the store, because the store is the best place to see how, you know, the client and the product and the brand interact. It's like, you know, I'm also teaching in the hotel programs, luxury hotel management programs. You know, in the hotel industry, why students choose to work in this industry? Because often the salary is not very high, the working hours are, and the standing position, it's hard work. You have a lot of constraints, but they want to live in this environment, you know. So for them, the good motivation is they are dreaming of being part of it, you know, working in a luxury, in a palace hotel, meeting exceptional people, being surrounded by beauty everywhere, every day. I mean, voila, this is the reason. So you must be patient, and you must accept at the beginning to enter somewhere, and you must be humble. Even with an MBA, you must be very humble, because the brand is much bigger than you, and most of the time brands don't need so much, you know, people who will bring who will bring, you know, they look sometimes for innovation, yes, but if you are someone who likes to make decisions that will impact the brand and the business, luxury is not the easiest place to have this kind of feeling, because it takes a long time before you can really have this kind of impact. Voilà. A new question. Are you aware of some new trends and rising issues faced by the fine jewelry industry? Alors, you know, I touch at everything, so I'm not always an expert at everything, because I touch all sectors, I touch all elements of luxury branding, distribution, retail, marketing. Jewelry industry, it has a lot of future, that's for sure. So if you ask me whether I believe in the development of fine jewelry, the answer is yes. Why? Just because, you know, it's branding. We are living in a world of brands, and the jewelry sector is still largely unbranded. If you know it, you know that already. So this is one reason why there is a lot of future for jewelry brand. However, if you ask me about issues, there is a fundamental issue. You know, there's only today 10 to 12 international luxury jewelry brands, or even, you know, international luxury and fine jewelry brands, not more than that. And you have a lot of small brands which all face the same struggle, which is to reach a critical mass. And what is the challenge? Clearly, it's distribution. You know, I teach a lot of courses, but my favorite course is distribution, because I always explain to my students, distribution is the bottleneck of everything. Marketing is not that difficult. Branding is not that difficult. You know, product development, you know, you find the creative people. It's not easy, but it's not that difficult. But distribution, here, it's not something. First, you need a lot of money. And sometimes even money is not enough, because for a jewelry brand, it's very hard even to open stores, because how can you have a jewelry store profitable if you only sell jewelry and you are small? It's not easy. You have big fine jewelry brand in China, from Hong Kong, like Chow Tai Fook, but they have 2,000 stores. So they have reached a long time ago this kind of critical mass. So voilà, this is one big challenge. And I think it's strange that we don't see more innovative multi-brand jewelry concept stores. Because I think this is the challenge that a lot of small brands are facing, is how to sell their jewelry. Let me go to another question. Is there potential for a new luxury brand to emerge using only digital marketing? Yes. Yes, of course. I finished to read the question. What kind of effective brand building techniques would you mainly advise to follow for a digital luxury brand? Alors, of course, it depends also the sector. If you are talking fashion, accessories, or beauty, or jewelry, or wine and spirit, or food, it can be a little bit different. But okay, today we talked a lot about private traffic. So luxury brands, big or small, in fact, they all have the same objective, is to create their own private traffic. So big brands, they do it through a network of stores that they have built, and it's today their advantage. But new brands cannot compete here. So today, technology enables designers who create and launch a small brand to do direct selling online. And of course, at the beginning, if they are not very famous, it's not easy, but I have a lot of ideas around that. I cannot develop too much, but it's about influencers, but maybe not in the way many brands use influencers. I think learning from China can be interesting. It's about short videos. So there is a lot of things you can do online if you don't have offline presence. It's actually, in a way, much easier to create a new brand today than it was before, from that perspective. Voilà, so direct to consumer, and maybe at some point, have a showroom offline once you start getting enough volumes to start also creating a place where clients can meet. There are some jewelers who have created, this kind of apartment stores. I'm sure you heard about that. So it's the place where you work, where you live, maybe not you sleep, but at least where you live. And it's not a store, it's really the place where you work, but you make it fancy, and you bring your first clients there. You share with them, your environment, what inspires you. It can be a great way, because big luxury brands will not be doing it because they have their stores. Voilà. So that was for this question. A new one. Do you think a big luxury group, I like this question, is planning to emanate Chinese brand nowadays and happening soon? Absolutely. It's happening. It can happen in different ways. You seem to think about fragrance, so it's true that there is a lot of niche fragrance brand. Fragrance industry is really redeveloping a lot, and niche fragrance brand have a certain advantage because it corresponds to Gen Z interest in personalizing and assessing their personality through the choice of a niche fragrance. So but to be honest, there are not so far in China a lot of true premium or luxury niche fragrance brands. I did a masterclass not so long ago in Singapore on that topic. And I invited one of my former GMBA students, who Chinese, who after working 7 years for Sephora and Clarins, created her brand. And I think we discussed a lot, and her brand is totally new. Is really one of the very few Chinese fragrance brand which has a true concept and a kind of true premium luxury positioning. So I'm not sure there are so many brands to acquire at the moment, but M&A is definitely something interesting. We have seen, I mean, there has been a case, I think, in the beauty industry, the Spanish group Puig took a share recently in a concept, fragrance concept brand in China. I forgot the name. It was in my previous presentation. So I think that the beauty giants, you know, like Estée Lauder, like Puig, like L'Oréal, they grow also by acquiring niche brands. So if there are some interesting brands to acquire in China, you will see Estée Lauder, LVMH, why not, L'Oréal trying to possibly acquire them. Next question. Do you think in the near future rental and second-hand business models will represent a huge business? Is this our future meaning, how young people generation will purchase? Yeah. Alors, I think it is definitely something that will gain momentum. I mean, just think about the car industry and even luxury cars. So today, the second-hand business is much bigger than the first-hand business. So I am sure that it will be a big business for different reasons. I think it's not only about prices, it's also about, you know, the sharing economy has some social foundation. So it's the idea of sharing. Voilà, it's also a way for, I mean, you know, a lot of Gen Z, it's true, they have a different relationship with ownership. So there is also a generational shift. I think I mean, I compare with my 4 children, not only for luxury, but for many objects and products. They are not buying. They are not buying. You know, they use whether it's movies, DVDs, CDs, cars, books. You know, they are not buying. So I think this is really a mindset, and those who will be looking for luxury products, they will be doing the same. So I think rental for the moment is still not so big. In China, it has not been really successful so far. In America, a little more. But rental, I think, will also reach luxury, because rental is very relevant for products that are really unique and that you don't use every day, and that are expensive. So, yeah, I believe in it. Bon, I think we have almost spent 2 hours together. So I'm happy if you enjoyed the presentation. I often stay in touch with a lot of my students. So you are all my students today, and you can, maybe some of you will be my student offline in the future in ESSEC. So welcome. And stay in touch. I always answer. I am quite special for this. I have a lot of passion for what I'm doing. So I wish you a great day, and see you maybe soon again for another masterclass. Thank you. Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.